All right, good morning, world. We're back with the third episode of Diskogs Presents. Super excited about this one. We felt that we were talking a bit too much about ancient music, so we're taking it contemporary with this episode. I will be discussing MJ Lenderman's Manning Fireworks, while Christian will be talking about.
What I'm talking about is not contemporary.
Right, but it's more contemporary than everything else we've discussed.
I guess you're right.
Yes.
It's Katie Lang.
Katie Lang, that's right. Ingénue. So, without further ado, so MJ Lenderman is a new artist. I'd never heard of him until a few weeks ago. He released an album. It's called Manning Fireworks. I've been listening to this album. I've listened to it many times at this point. I like it.
Well, yeah, I like this album too. It was presented to me as kind of a, look at this guy. Is he gonna become a major songwriter of the 2020s?
The answer is yes. This guy writes incredible lyrics. He's a really good writer. Really interesting use of pop culture references. A lot of the songs themselves are pretty straightforward, accessible pop songs with country slide guitar, big booming drums. When you first listen to them, you're like, oh, this is, just another fucking pop song. But then the more you listen to them, the more layers you uncover in these lyrics. Some say distance grows the heart, but I know sometimes we just drift apart. Everybody's walking in twos, leaving Noah's Ark. It's Sunday at the water park. There's a lot to these lyrics, even though they may seem very simple.
I wanted to discuss the lyrics on this album too. Some lines that I like a lot and speak to me. Other lines feel kind of inert. One of the lines I wanted to bring up was exactly the one that you mentioned, Noah's Ark, Sunday at the water park. It's a great line. He's not saying like, I'm here at the water park, I'm looking at this image, and it reminds me of Noah's Ark. The Noah's Ark comes first, and the reveal that he's talking about a water park, like the rhythm of it, where like, I'm not making my point very coherently. You talk for a moment, I'll gather my thoughts.
I did just want to talk about all of the references to pop culture, movies and other music. I don't think it could have been written by anyone other than a 25-year-old in America. Probably one of the most he talks about playing Guitar Hero. Great. Playing Bark at the Moon, also the song title, also a famous Ozzy Osbourne song. And then after that line, he goes, "Ow!" Just like Werewolves of London, Warren Zevon. This little moment captures so much in it. It's playful, it's fun, it's simple, and it's approachable, but it's also rich with complexity when you really get into it.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying about this kind of American child perspective. He references Guitar Hero. He references the movie Cars. These are not references that have been appearing in popular music frequently, although they're going to crop up more and more as time goes on. I like this child sitting at home playing video games quality, but I can't say that I feel intensely moved by it. It does feel to me that some people are looking at this album as though MJ Lenderman is like the second coming of David Berman and the Silver Jews, a poet first and foremost who uses Americana, country, mundane, very unpoetic cultural references to weave a web of strange associations that feel like they carry meaning without being explicit remotely about the meaning. I can't quite see in MJ Lenderman staring into the void, really getting in touch with darkness. This album never feels like it really gets murky. My favorite song on the whole album is Wristwatch. I really like the lyric on that song. I see the song as being from the perspective of someone who likes technology, is maybe a little lonely. I've got a wristwatch that's a compass, it's a megaphone, the wristwatch does all sorts of things. Can I finish my point? Okay, never mind. You go.
This was the first song I heard by him. I think it's a great song. It's not my favorite. My favorite song is You Don't Know the Shape I'm In, also the name of a song by the band. A song I'm not really a fan of, but MJ Lenderman has really appropriated this song title and made it his own. I saw that the drummer on this album also produced it, and you can really tell. The drum sounds fantastic. we are in a beat generation, and MJ Lenderman is bridging the gap between pop music and the folk music of the 60s and 70s, and I'm so excited to see what he does next.
I agree about the special dedication to the drum sounds. I do want to try and articulate some of my feelings about the lyrics.
One more thing about the instrumentation, I love it all. That being said, it is a bit simplistic. The guitar solos are super boring, but I do think that with an album like this, which is a rehashing of an old type of music, people haven't heard guitar solos in a while. They've got to be simple.
I was going to bring up the guitar solos too, and I was actually going to say they were some of my favorite parts of the album. Most of the guitar solos on this album do at least mirror the vocal melody if they don't outright just play it. I don't know. I found the guitar solos hitting right to me. The tone is really nice. They serve a structural purpose in the song. Now that we've established this melody through the vocals, this is the time for you to hear it in sort of its purest, most piercing sense. This album kind of brought it back after I had lost faith in that kind of guitar solo.
And you know he's a fan of Guitar Hero, so this kind of all is a full circle. MJ Lenderman is the next evolution from Guitar Hero, and you know Guitar Hero died about 10 years ago. Here we are 10 years later with a brilliant young artist who is clearly influenced by the game, and I think it's wonderful.
I think part of what makes it difficult for me to get super passionate about his lyrics is I just don't think he has a really strong sense of word choice. A lot of the lyrics are really, really mundane, which sometimes can be a great thing.
One of my favorite lyrics is draining cum from hotel showers, waiting for the hours to pass a little faster. I mean, who puts cum in their lyrics? But he really pulls it off. The other thing I love about the way he sings is a lot of these lyrics, if someone else sang them, they'd be winking at you a bit. But I get the feeling that MJ Lenderman sings with his eyes tightly closed or wide open, and I don't even think he can blink.
I think something that helps give the lyrics a sense of authenticity, the melodies often tend to not have a lot of extended vocal notes. Phrases cut off sharply. It's noticeable right off the bat in the first track. The birds against a heavy wind. Once was a baby and now a jerk. I like that effect.
You know, we're talking about this album quite a bit. We still have to talk about k.d. lang, so just to wrap up, Christian, what would you rate this album? I gave it a 9 out of 10.
I didn't really know we were doing ratings. This album is not very remarkable to me. It's a nice listen. I think there's a bunch of songs that are pretty boring, particularly Rudolph and Rip Torn. I like Wristwatch and I like You Don't Know the Shape I'm In. I would give this album a 6.5 out of 10.
All right, let's get into k.d. lang.
k.d. lang is a singer from Canada who has released a lot of country albums, but then she released this album, Ingénue, which was the one that was her biggest hit, and she never had any hits quite like it again. If we had to talk about a genre for this album, it would probably be labeled adult contemporary, which for a lot of people would be a red flag right off the bat.
Adult contemporary is not a great genre to put on anything. It makes me think of spoken word, William Shatner's album. This album is more than that. I do see why it gets that name though, because it has the strings and acoustic guitar. It's very easy listening.
It lacks an element of mysterious poetry that would maybe bring it into singer-songwriter territory, which really isn't fair because k.d. lang did write these songs and they're excellent pieces of songwriting. This is a great album all around. With every listen, a new track stands out to me as a worthwhile and surprisingly subtle little thing. There's great attention paid to the arrangement, the strings, the guitar, there's accordion. This album sometimes gets lumped into the world music category because of the drumming style. There's a wide range of swirling national ambiguity here. There's maybe some Eastern European sounding chords and melodies on it.
I tried listening to this about a year ago, and I couldn't get through it. I didn't like it at all, but I've been listening to it this week, and I like it now. Very listenable. As I said, it's easy listening. You put it on, you kind of forget it's on, but it's very, very pleasant sounding. My favorite track is, of course, Miss Shadow Lane. This is a song I put on when I'm feeling really good, and I want to emphasize how good I feel. I put on Miss Shadow Lane, and I can't help but smile when I listen to it. Constant Craving, the album closer, another great song, and a bit more rocky than the other ones, I would say. The rest of the songs, there's a few standouts for me. I mean, there's a standout part in every song, but the entirety of the other songs don't quite catch my attention as much as the singles. The instrumental refrain and Sweet, I don't know. All the songs have very similar titles, but there is one song with a brilliant lyric. The tears of love recall blood to chocolate balls. Such a strange lyric on an otherwise bland lyrically album. The way she sings, though, you really feel the intensity of these bland lyrics, and you can tell they're really emotions k.d. lang felt. I was struggling to think of who she was influenced by. Then I suddenly remembered Joni Mitchell. A lot of the odd melodic phrasing on this is very Joni Mitchell-like, a fellow Canadian.
Yeah, I can see comparisons to Joni Mitchell. Obviously, one big difference is just in the quality of their voices. k.d. lang as a singer is very strong. Because her voice is so clear and hits notes without tending to warble or lead up into them, it gives the whole album a feeling of confidence that says, like, I'm taking you through this journey with me, particularly on a song like Miss Chatelaine, which is about bursting forward into the public eye. Chatelaine was a Canadian magazine that she ended up on the cover. She was... Well, let's talk about the title, Ingénue. For anyone who doesn't know what an ingénue is, it's an archetype in storytelling. A young, beautiful, romantic lead who typically doesn't get a lot of complex character development. The thrust of her character is the fact that she's in love. And it's interesting that k.d. lang chooses to title her album this, because an ingenue character is an inherently narrow perspective. All of the songs on the album are completely about love. They really do fit into the ingenue archetype. But at the same time, k.d. lang clearly felt some kind of conflict or insecurity about solely expressing love, or
I'll just say I had no idea what ingenue meant, so...
Every single one of these songs is about her being a romantic lead. I want to talk about track specifics again because I haven't. I agree with Jerry. The best track on this album is Miss Chatelaine. It's just thrilling. It is an incredible melody, and it's such a great example of the subtle things that make a song work. The refrain, the I Can't Explain refrain, has this small asymmetry in it, which to me is the crux of the whole working of the song. You've got the verse, just a kiss, the melody rises. I have lived just for this. The melody goes down. 2 bars up, 2 bars down. Symmetrical. Then you have, I can't explain how I've become. I can't describe this in a concise manner, Jerry, but it's so important. I can't explain how I've become Chatelaine. Right? That's a version of the refrain that's perfectly symmetrical. But you put this big miss in the middle, and you make the phrase asymmetrical. I can't explain how I become I
think what you're trying to say, Christian, is it's a dramatic album, and the songs have a lot of drama to them. For example, Season of Love's Recall. What a dramatic name for a song.
That's 2 different songs.
What?
Tears of Love's Recall, and there's Season of Hollow Soul.
Season of Hollow Soul. Such drama there.
Season of Hollow Soul is one of the weaker tracks on the album for me, and it's partly because the chorus is a little bit too waily. It's just too much. And most of the album is not this way. Much of it is restrained. Harmonically, she tends to sit a lot in minor scales. A lot of the choruses resolve back into the minor, something like... what is it? It's not Tears of Love's Recall. Well, Constant Craving sits in a minor place. It's the worst track on the album, and I think it's because of the drums. You said it felt more rock to you. The only element of it that is rock-like is those drums. There's also accordion on it. There's certainly no... If there is electric guitar, it's not prominent enough for me to hear it.
Wonderful accordion line on that track. I don't remember the drums, but that is probably why it gives it a rock feel. We are way over time now. Any words to wrap up, Christian, before we get into our rating?
I have so many thoughts about these albums, and I can't articulate them. I feel like I can't be a music reviewer.
Well, okay. Well, you know, I think you've had some good points. Don't be so hard on yourself. So, what would you rate this one?
It's like a cool 7.5.
Yeah, I was thinking a 7 or 8 myself. For my personal listening taste, I would give it a 7. But for Katie Lang's boldness here, I would give it an 8 because I think it's a great album. And those who are in tune with this style of music, they're gonna love it, and it's gonna speak to them really clearly. So yeah, thank you for watching the third episode of Diskogs Presents. We'll see you next week.